And now the hot seat. And here's your host, Melva Williams.
Welcome to the hot seat with me, Melva Williams. Today we have a very special guest, Dr. Albert Jackson, who is the new band director here at Southern University Shreveport. Dr. Jackson, welcome.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, we are glad to have you in Shreveport, and we're just thrilled that Southern University at Shreveport is going to have a marching band.
Yes. Looking forward to the challenge.
So, listen, tell me about who Dr. Jackson is.
Dr. Jackson is a 35-year band director veteran. Born and raised in Grambling, Louisiana, but the good thing about all of this is that I spent 11 years here in Shreveport.
Oh, yes.
And even though I left in 1993, I am so thrilled to be back home.
Yes. And right on the Cooper Road, where Southern University is.
Yes, it's 11 years at Green Oaks, and it was a wonderful 11 years.
So you were the band director at Green Oaks High School for 11 years.
Right.
And so tell us about that experience, because you're used to Cattle Parish and Shreveport, and now you're kind of coming full circle and coming back home.
Yes, at Green Oaks, I was the band director, choir director, jazz band instructor, music appreciation, piano instructor, choir director, and I taught earth science.
Wow. So so you had a full slate of teaching responsibility at Green Oaks.
Full slate. And I enjoyed it. It didn't bother me at all. I looked forward to the challenge every day.
Wow, that's great. So I know that, in the process, a lot of your former students and, administrators were so excited to hear that you were interested in coming back to Shreveport.
Yes. To be honest with you, my Facebook page just lit up. Former students calling and putting messages on Facebook. I have a Facebook page called Mr. J's Symphony.
Wow, yeah.
And it has segments from my first appointment, the Green Oaks appointment, the Langston University appointment, and then, I haven't put the title, but I'm looking forward to adding the Southern University segment,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is going to be exciting moving forward, and everybody knows, everybody's really excited about the opportunity to have a band.
Yeah.
But tell the audience a little bit about your music experience. I mean, people need to know that, you really have an extensive background.
Well, I started playing the piano at 5 years old under a lady by the name of Betty Hawthorne. And later I started taking private lessons on campus at Grambling State University under Dr. Ruth Southall. I took private lessons until I was 13.
And so you're from, I know a lot of people think, you're Grambling, you just went to Grambling State,
no.
but you are from Grambling, Louisiana.
Grambling, kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, college, and in high school. I played football, basketball, and baseball. Was in the band, all in Grambling. I played the organ and piano at a local church. I was a drill sergeant in the band at Grambling, and the first four Bayou Classics. I was in the first four. We went to Japan twice. We did the Dallas Cowboys and so forth and so on. And then leaving Grambling, Mr. Hutchinson, William Wiley.
And so that is really exciting. I mean,
Right.
So many people know the name Conrad Hutchinson,
Yes.
who is the general of marching bands
That's right.
in America, along with, names such as Dr. Greggs and all of that.
Right.
But Conrad Hutchinson, the name alone. So you had the opportunity to be under his tutelage.
Right. I had a different type of opportunity because my father taught at Grambling High School. Conrad Hutchinson's children went to Grambling High School, even though they eventually left. My father taught all of his children,
Wow.
Eddie Robertson's children, and here I came along, was under Mr. Hutchinson. So
Wow.
I knew him, he knew me ever since I was
In
born.
a special way, yeah.
Right. And he put me to work. He made me a drill sergeant, and the band cut a record album in Tokyo, Japan. I was one of the ones he asked to play.
Wow.
And later on, I patterned a lot of my processes and methods of running a band after Mr. Hutchinson.
Yeah, and that's so important because I know one of the things that I've heard about Dr. Hutchinson was the discipline,
Yes.
and he truly instilled discipline, organization, being responsible in those young men and women that were in that band. Are those some of the things that you envision bringing to Suzzla's band?
Yes, there's a secret about that, and it's not really a secret, but I was able to understand exactly why he did it. First of all, he had a military background, and he was a military band director. But the Fisk Jubilee Singers were the ones who would travel the world,
Wow.
bring notoriety and money to Fisk. Mr. Hutchinson developed the band to do the same thing. He used the Big Ten marching style with the University of Michigan, Wisconsin, all of that, and modified it. Then he designed the uniform for special effects, like the white shoes and white gloves. And then Coach Eddie Robinson, Colin J. Nicholson, and President Jones, they all forged a public relations team. And so he would travel not just for the discipline, but for the notoriety and the publicity of the school. And so that's why, I don't care what anyone say, when you have discipline, it is a positive image, and people want to be a part of that.
Right.
And so kids, young men and young women come out from all over the country just to be a part of that military type of discipline, and the rewards were so enormous.
Wow. And that's so, and that's an experience of a lifetime.
Yes, it is.
And to not know at the moment that you were working with a legend.
Right.
Yeah, so that's something definitely impactful.
I really didn't know how big he was because I grew up with him until I was participating in the Honda Battle of the Bands in Atlanta, where they always gave a tribute to a deceased band director.
Sure.
And I nominated Conrad Hutchinson, and all of the band directors got quiet.
Oh.
And they said, we hadn't thought about him. They chose Conrad Hutchinson, and then they chose me to conduct the mass band to represent.
And this is at Honda All-Star Battle of the Bands, which is a huge event.
Huge.
With all of the top HBCU marching bands in the country participating. Only selected schools get to come.
Right.
Yeah. And so you were selected to lead the mass number.
Right. 2,600 band students.
Wow. From all these different HBCU schools.
All of the top HBCUs, Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman, just name it.
Yeah. Well, that's spectacular. So you were able to keep Conrad Hutchinson's name alive during that huge performance.
It was just a very special moment when the Honda Battle of the Bands was over and we went back to the hotel, and I heard somebody say, Albert Lewis Jackson. And I stopped and I looked up, and it was Ann Hutchinson, Keith Hutchinson, all his children.
Wow.
Doris Akers, his wife. They all came down the escalator, and we just stood in the lobby and hugged. And they said, "Thank you so much for doing that for my husband, for my dad." I'll never forget that experience.
Wow, that's definitely a nugget that you keep in your heart forever, right?
Yes.
And so you've had so many experiences, but one notable being the band director, the head band director at Langston University, one of the rivals of Southern and Grambling and all of the big schools.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that experience. That was special. I mean, you were there many years.
Yes. I came in 1993. And it was 77 kids in the band. So the next year we had 105, and then the next year it just grew. And by the time we got to the Honda Battle of the Bands, I had 180. But I started with the same type of discipline and the same plan, Mr. Hutchinson. I explained to the kids why you do band. No institution has to have a band, but it's a wonderful activity and a wonderful public relations tool.
Exactly, to get them out there. But listen, you stay in the hot seat, okay? And we'll be right back.
Okay.
So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors. Dr. Jackson,
We'll be right back with more Hot Seat with Melva Williams.
You there, Rick?
You don't want to miss us on iKoala Radio. It's the hot seat with me, Melva Williams, 5 days a week, 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. on iKoala Radio. It's just music, baby.
Since 1985, J&S Electronics has served the architects with superior electronics from transistors, resistors, and fuses. We carry HDMI cables and a wide selection of AV cables and connectors. We also have a large supply of batteries and tools to handle your projects. Need Cat 6 or CCTV systems? Call us at 318-631-8675 or come see us today at 6437 Greenwood Road.
The difference between significance and insignificance is choice, and sometimes making those choices are tough. But isn't it amazing that our past has no place in determining our future, and that where we are now doesn't have to be where we'll be forever? So I'm not focusing on where I have been. Instead, I look to where I am heading, and I'm going somewhere great, because I am Southern.
Welcome back to the hot seat with me, Melva Williams. Today, our special guest is Dr. Albert Lewis Jackson, the new band director at Southern University at Shreveport. And I know you're saying, what band at Southern University Shreveport? Southern University Shreveport has a band? Well, I'm telling you, this guy is here to start the band. Right. And so you have a task and a mountain that is like this high. So, you know, we're talking about Langston and your experiences there, and you started with 70 kids. By the time you get to Honda, I mean, you have 180 kids. Right. And so what drew people into that band? And we're going to start next talking about what's going to be the draw for Southern Shreveport and what we need from you.
The first thing is the benefit of coming to Langston. Mm-hmm. That's the main purpose. To get an education, and it was a bargain deal as far as the expenses. Mm-hmm. Then you add something that they enjoy. I never put the band first. Wow. See, I would take one big trip. We're gonna do all in home game, and we'll take one big trip out of state. And I just left it just like that. And every little in-state activity like parades and things like that, we would go. And then I do a lot of arranging. So I would ask them what they wanted to play. And so I'd run back home.
All the popular songs, all the popular rap songs and hip hop songs and
that's right.
R&B, great music.
While they were playing the things that I needed them to play to represent the university.
Absolutely.
So it was
got to trade off.
Right. And then I designed the uniforms, and then I got a dance line, and I designed their uniforms, and I got a flag line, I designed theirs. And then I started demanding more from their instrumental abilities. Mm-hmm. And I would drill them. I would give some of the students private lessons on the instruments. And it raised the level of their proficiency on the instrument. A good example is Brahms Ice Cream wanted us to do a television commercial.
Wow. Brahms Ice Cream, the big, one of my favorite brands.
Right. Well, they called, and I said, well, sure. And there was a song that I wanted to use, and they told me they couldn't get the copyright.
Couldn't get the copyright, yeah.
And they were supposed to come in that afternoon. And they said, well, we still got to come. What can you do? I said, just come on. I ran into the office, made up a song, wrote it out, met with the kids before they came in, and they learned it and they practiced it. And the people walked in the door and they recorded it and left. And the thing I know, I'm watching it and listening to something that I wrote.
And that was it.
That was it.
Just like that.
Just like that.
So creativity, the inspiration, the ability, all of those things meeting to make a band great.
Right. And so we did the Kansas City Chiefs, and we did the Denver Nuggets, the Oklahoma Thunder, and of course the television commercial. Then we were on public television, things like that. And of course we didn't have the same opportunities like a Grambling, Bayou Classic.
Southern, exactly.
But everything that Grambling, had, we did everything else except we couldn't get the bowl games and things like that. But we did everything, It was wonderful. And the kids, most of the kids that came came from cities like Chicago, Detroit, Miami, Los Angeles, St. Louis, all over, even Louisiana. And a lot of them stayed after I left.
Wow.
They are in Oklahoma now.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
Yes,
And so, let's talk a little bit about the vision. You're a Jaguar now. You are part of the mighty Jaguar Nation. That's right. I wore my blue today to represent.
Yeah.
But tell us about your vision for this band. I mean, so this is new. Langston had an identity, even though you had to revamp it and pull it together. They had they had something. Grambling has something, everybody knows the world famed Tiger Marching Band. Everybody knows the Bad Human Jukebox, one of the baddest bands.
Right.
The sonic boom of Jackson State University. Tell us about the vision that is going to be the Southern University Shreveport Marching Band.
Okay. The number one vision is to make sure that it's in accordance with the statement and the goals of the university. That's the first thing. I want to make sure that it goes hand in hand with that. Then what I'll do is, I've been going throughout the community, talking with people from around this area and all over Shreveport, people that I knew when I was here at first, to help to develop an identity along with what the institution wants. Then I'm going to focus on bringing in students who maybe they don't want a Grambling or a Southern. They want to get their lesson. They want academics, but they want to have a little fun.
Absolutely,
they want to go to a few parades. And I was talking to a local band director today. He said we could do the pregame show. We won't interfere with the start. And so those parades and those little performances, basketball games.
Outreach and showcasing.
Right,
Yeah, to make sure
and
we are showcased.
Right. And
throughout the city.
But what's going to help it to grow is going to be the same thing with Mr. Hutchinson, Dr. Greg. A lot of people don't know Dr. Greg is from Shreveport.
Absolutely. Right here from the Cook Road.
Yeah, and but that has to be instilled in those band students to understand that it's just not fun, but it's the Fish Jubilee Singer. See, we got to go out and represent.
Yeah.
It's part of the job. And so the discipline is going to be a mainstay from the beginning. And I believe that we'll be just fine. I believe that with the help of the you
and all of your people, because we want
you.
people to send students, that they know, even if it's students that haven't played in a while, they've sat out, they've said,
Right.
hey, I really wanted to be in the band, but I hadn't started, I started working. Consider coming back and be in your band.
I still have a lot of students who are here who are not grown and everything. And one of them in particular told me that there were a lot of students around that maybe the first time around it didn't work well.
Right.
That maybe academics, life challenges, things like that, and they dropped out, or maybe they're working and couldn't get back in school. Mr. Jackson, he said, if you get your hands on them, I know their life's going to change. And I was sitting eating crab legs one night and started talking to the waitress, and she said, I'm going to give you can I give my brother your phone number? And I said, well, sure. And lo and behold, he said, sir, if you believe that I can do this, I'll come. And that was like so that's the beginning. And so if we get those students to believe to understand that I, have their best interest at heart and Southern University, it's going to fly.
Yeah.
It's going to fly. I believe it.
It is. It's going to fly, and we're going to be, we're going to be one of the tops in Shreveport. So, right now, enrollment is starting. We want people to come be Southern, I'm sure. Yeah. So what do you have students to do at this point? If they're interested, what do you think they should be doing at this point?
I would like for them to contact me, and if I need to go see them, meet them, or if they want to come here to make an appointment so I can talk with them and perhaps hear them play or something like that. do that. Make those connections. Send me an email to aljackson@susla.edu. Send me an email. I will contact you. I will call you, and then we can talk. If I need to come see you, I will. If it's close enough for me to see, or else you can come and play for me. Sit down and tell me where you are. Like the young man with his sister, he said, "Mr. Jackson, I dropped out of school,
Wow.
and I played drums." And I said, "I do too." And he said, "Well," I said, "I can work with you." I said, "If you give me 2 years, when you leave Southern University Shreveport, you're going to be a high dollar scholarship student at a 4-year institution."
So that's the rub, right?
Right.
That's the rub. It's almost like building your bank, building your ability so that you
going
can.
to the woodshed to do your
Yeah.
come out better, So
Yeah,
oh,
it's like a lot of schools that do the camps. They send you off the combine. You go and you work out and you strengthen yourself, and then you grow, right?
right. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. So I'm anxious. I'm looking forward to it, and I don't want anybody to be afraid to give it a try.
Well, we were gonna give it a try, right?
Yes, we
So
are.
listen, you stay in the hot seat, and we'll be right back after these messages.
We'll be right back with more Hot Seat with Melva Williams.
Since 1985, J&S Electronics has served the architects with superior electronics from transistors, resistors, and fuses. We carry HDMI cables and a wide selection of AV cables and connectors. We also have a large supply of batteries and tools to handle your projects. Need Cat 6 or CCTV systems? Call us at 318-631-8675 or come see us today at 6437 Greenwood Road.
April is Autism Awareness Month, so make sure that you wear the color blue on April 2nd, which is World Autism Day. Light it up blue, America. Thank you.
You don't want to miss us on iKoala Radio. It's the hot seat with me, Melva Williams, 5 days a week, 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. on iKoala Radio. It's just music, baby. Welcome to the hot seat with me, Melva Williams. Today we're still here in the hot seat, Dr. Albert Jackson. You feeling okay? You still here in the hot seat? You hadn't run off from the hot seat yet?
I'm fine.
Great. I'm so glad. We've had an opportunity to talk about your past experience,
Okay.
your music experience, your vast music experience, being growing up in Grambling, Louisiana, being a staple in that, your family being a staple in that community, and also, being the head band director at Langston University. And I know you've worked at Tyler College, some other institutions. But now you're the band director of the Southern University Shreveport Marching Band. We have to come up with a name. So that is what I want to talk about now. How are you, this is an identity. You've done some things like this before. How are you going to develop the identity so that Shreveport and Northwest Louisiana knows Southern University Shreveport Marching Band? How is that all going to flow? It's so much to do.
I would like the band students, and I would perhaps even open up to the student body for a name, like the human jukebox and all
yeah.
that. But I like for the student to be involved in that. That's big. And then once several names come in, then I would bring it to the administration to make sure that it goes with this image of the institution.
Yeah. And then we'll get the community involved. Maybe
Right.
we'll put it out there and let the community know about it and hear about it.
Yeah. And so it got to be some kind of nickname.
Yeah.
And,
Because, we got the human jukebox. We can't be the iPod. We have to do something. We have to do something. We have to do something
yeah.
unique and out there. So,
something.
yeah. So that's going to come into play. And
Right.
then, so many people say, well, what's the uniform? What are the uniforms going to be?
All of that's going to be, you're going to have to sit down. See, I designed the uniform for Langston.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I designed the uniform for Glen Oaks.
Oh, wow.
So, right,
Okay.
see,
Okay.
So
You've had a little experience
right,
in this.
right. And so I'm going to sit down and do some deep thinking and special effects. It has to show a special effect when you're marching. and marching, and it should be able to adjust for concert situation.
Okay.
And then the image still has to go in with the strategic plan for the university. All that has to go with it. So you just can't throw a uniform together and you're looking at the strategic plan, and then over here the school looks like they came from out of the woods somewhere. Hold on, wait a minute.
Like it doesn't match it.
Right. So I'm a very transparent person.
Yeah.
And I've always liked to include people into. I make the last decision, except my bosses, my superiors, they make the last decision. But when it comes to that band, when I get to my superiors, I would have made the last decision.
Yeah.
And then from that point, we'll. And I'm very, very peculiar about image.
So, talking about image and all of this going forward, and, we're going to have the band, but a lot of people have been asking, what kind of band is this? Southern doesn't have a football team. So are they going to, so what do they do? What will they be doing?
Talladega has, I think, about 300 kids in that band. They don't have a football team.
No football team?
None.
Wow.
And so they ended up in the Honda Battle of the Bands in Atlanta this year. And I know how they play the exposure game. So you can always pick selected activities like certain parades. You want to pick the activities that's going to expose the kids to the largest crowd for the university.
Absolutely.
So I mean, if there are Mardi Gras parades, let's pick the one that had the largest crowds. If there is a
pregame or the Independence Bowl.
Right. See, if there's a local high school rivalry, like the Green Oaks and the Booker T rivalry.
Yeah, the Soul Bowl.
The Soul Bowl. I was in that, and so talking to the Green Oaks band director today, he said, I don't see a problem with you all doing the pregame. So there you have it, exposure.
And of course, traveling to other events and activities, but they won't just be a marching band. I envision, you had mentioned about concert band playing
jazz
for
band, basketball,
different
pep
formal events.
Right.
Yeah, basketball games, pep band.
And see, and there are two ways you make that work. Sometimes with the recruiting may be a little slow, so you start from the smaller from the basketball
and build up.
To build up.
Yeah.
Right.
So listen, I want to ask you, because the producer's saying, hey, we're almost done, and I can talk to you all day. So in the last few words, what do we want the city of Shreveport to know about the Southern University Marching Band that's coming up in just a few seconds?
It's a first-class organization. They are able to provide music for all types of events. The musicians are well prepared and proficient on their instruments, and they could perform and go anywhere. And it represents the university to the highest degree.
That's it. Thank you so much for being in the hot seat. We're looking forward to a masterful showpiece and a show band. So make sure you send some kids to Dr. Jackson at Southern University Shreveport. And we'll be back next week with another great show on the hot seat with me, Melvin Williams.